Hello, guys, and welcome back to another installment of Galley Stories, Stories of the Bering Sea and Beyond. I am your host, Mark Kaler. You will hear quite a bit of noise today. We're sitting here on the Gale and on the aft stern deck and recording for you today, but there is quite a bit of wind out there, and the waves are kicking up quite a bit. But today, I've asked Jack Mullen to come back with me today for the special guest that we have. We have Lloyd Johannessen.
Yeah.
Lloyd, how are you today?
Good.
And Jack, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Glad to have Lloyd here.
Yeah, glad you got him to come on. Really
Yeah,
glad you got him
that's
to come
awesome.
on.
Yeah.
So Lloyd, I'd like to start at the beginning. You know
Sure.
what the beginning is, right? The seed. So let's start from there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was born in New Bedford, Massachusetts. You know, that was the fishing capital of the East Coast. Then we came out here when I was about 5 years old. And my dad started fishing in Alaska back in 1965, I think. So we're a fishing family. We just followed the fish wherever they go, you know. And he started salmon fishing. Then we got into crab fishing. And I started fishing with them when I was probably about 14, you know, and just going up for a couple of trips, you know.
Doing salmon?
No, crab. My brother was a salmon fisherman. I like the crab better.
What was the first boat you went up on then?
It was actually the Sea Rover. And that was back in, probably 1974 or something like that. But then they went on strike in Dutch Harbor. So I think I made more money than anybody did, because I was out in the creek catching salmon, and I go sell them to the fishermen, you know, because they couldn't go fishing, you know. So that worked out pretty good.
And how long were you on there?
Oh, just that, maybe 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
You know, because they were on strike, you know, so they were waiting to go fishing again, you know. So as soon as they got the word to go fishing, they dumped me off on the dock and went out and started setting pots.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you go from there?
Well, then I was on the Royal Atlantic for a while. My dad, he started this salt cod business, you know, so we started dragging. And we were salting the cod on board. And boy, you want to talk about grunt work. You know?
Well, explain the process a little bit.
Well, what we did is we had these machines on board that would butterfly the fish, and then we'd have to take all the fish and lay them down flat in big piles and salt them. You know, and then once we got the boat full, we'd take it in and offload it, you know. And I mean, it was tedious work, you know, because we just had to go, you know, day after day after day.
Were you salting them and putting them in barrels or boxing it?
No, we'd actually go into Squaw Harbor, you know, just south of Sandpoint. And then there was a Norwegian company that would come in with a freighter, and then we'd offload all that fish from this, I think Peter Pan had a plant there, an old shrimp plant, and we were just using that for storage, you know. And then the freighter would come in, and then we go out and do our next trip. And, no,
It was brutal, right?
Oh yeah, it was tough.
Everybody that ever did it just can't describe how hard it was.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why now when they start talking about tough work, I'm going, yeah.
a little different now, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So how long did you do that, and then?
Just for a couple of days, or a couple of years. I mean, then we went back to pollock fishing, you know, for midwater trawling, and we did cod fishing too, but we didn't have to salt them, so that was that was kind of cool.
Just bleed them out, put them in the tank.
Bleed them out, throw them in the tank, and
now was there much RSW then, or no, or is it?
Yeah, well, there was.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, we were all RSW in it, but it was actually a lot better than salting, you know, because you'd have to be down in the tank. And then my dad, that was his favorite meal, you know, was salt cod.
Mm-hmm.
So then here we'd come out of the tank, and that stuff smells like crap. You know? We'd come in for dinner, you know, and the cook would have salt cod for dinner.
And for breakfast, and for
a
little something for lunch.
Yeah. Oh, boy, you want to talk about suffering.
that had to be some rough times. How old were you about that time?
I was about 18, 19.
And but you were raised around it, so you just were used to that kind of work ethic. And
Oh yeah. Well, my dad, I mean, you know, he always had a saying that, you know, on the boats, you know, he goes, if there's nothing to do, you know, and then you guys better find something to do, or I'm going to find it for you, you know.
Right. Sounds almost like that. If you got time to lean, you got time to clean.
Yeah, right.
Mentality.
Oh yeah.
Things were a little stricter back then too, right? I mean,
yeah.
Was he tough on you?
Oh yeah. He was. Well, he was. I can't even explain it, you know. I mean, you know.
You can try.
Well, I know.
Didn't he work with Corey Ness on the East Coast?
Yeah, well,
Why
him
don't you tell that little story?
Oh yeah, him and Corey. Yeah, they worked on the East Coast together quite a while, you know, and they were scallop fishing then.
Back in the Viking Queen days?
Yeah, you know, and my dad, he wasn't on that boat, but, you know, him and Corey were actually cousins, second cousins, and Corey's wife was my dad's cousin. Mm-hmm. But, you know, back then when they were scallop fishing, my dad, he had a nickname, and his nickname was Pickin'. And in Norwegian, that means prick. Mm-hmm. So then the reason he got the nickname was because when they were picking scallops, he'd always pick just the biggest scallops because they'd always have a competition to see who could pick the most scallops, you know. So he'd just take the biggest ones and they could fill the bags faster, you know.
Right.
But anyway, it ended up being more about prick than... Yeah.
Oh,
all right, so after you got done doing your salt cod and went on to do cod, which boat were you on doing cod?
I was on the Oceanic.
Okay. How big of a boat is that?
About 123 foot. It's a sister ship to the Columbia that
it's a
Jack
Marco.
has. Yeah, it's
Yep.
Marco. Mm-hmm. So I was on there for a while, and then I was on the boat one night, you know, and then the skipper, he called me up to the wheelhouse, you know. So I'm wondering, well, what the heck's going on now? You know, he goes, yeah, your dad wants to talk to you on the radio. You know, we had those single sideband radios, and my dad had one in the kitchen at the house, you know, so he could always check on you. No, and he says, hey, he goes, are you coming home soon? I go, yeah, I guess we're coming home here pretty quick. You know, he goes, well, bring your wallet. I'm going, uh-oh, you know, what's going on now? He goes, we're buying a boat. So I got home, and we ended up buying the Storm Petrel, another Marco boat, you know, and boy, he leveraged me to the hilt, you know, because I think we bought the boat, you know, and I didn't have any money. Well, I had the money I made on the Oceanic, you know, so all that went. So I was broke. You know.
But you had a boat.
But I had a boat, yeah.
Was that a 123?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a nice boat, you know. I was there for, from 1985 till just last year. Yeah, so I mean, made a good living with that.
Yeah. Now, I understand that wasn't the only boat you owned.
No, we had the Commodore. That was actually built in 1986, I think, 87. You know, and that was one of the first boats Marco built for the Bering Sea in 20 years or something. And we actually did good with that, you know. Then we got 3-4 more boats. Yeah, we had 5 boats total. Then we bought the Poseidon, and that was my dad and my brother and I. And we had Alaskan Pride. That was it was a Dakota Creek boat. That ended up sinking. And
under bad circumstances, or
yeah. Well, I think what they're saying now is they hit something in the water and punched a hole in the engine room, and she sank. You know. So you get all kinds of stuff. They said there was a lot of containers floating around out there. You know, they had some barge or something that had flipped over. You know, and that's what they're thinking, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So you get all kinds of weird stuff. I know myself. God, I could tell you stories.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Well, I remember on the Storm Petrel, you want to talk about Marco boats, you know, I had, we were delivering to the Northern Victor out in Beaver Inlet, so we had to go through Yanalga Pass all the time. Geez, we...
You got to describe Yanalga Pass, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's wicked.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got tide and wind and this and that, and it's always, you know, just a real smoky place to be. You don't want to be there if you don't have to, you know. So that was when the Alaskan Pride, they had some problems, so I had to bring a couple of nets in for my brother. And so I had 2 nets on deck. and I had all the 8 tanks full on the storm petrol, and then I was full of fuel, and I got into the pass, and I got some snotty weather, and oops, sorry. Now I turned around, looked at the deck to see what was going on back there, because I mean you could feel it was getting pretty heavy, you know. And all of a sudden the net reel on the stern was underwater. You know?
Oh.
And man, all I could think of was, you know, just gun it, you know, just give it full power, you know. So I just throttled it, and I'm sitting there just waiting. The boat's shaking, you know, and like I said, she's halfway underwater, you know, and well, I'm just about ready to rip the seat cover off my seat with pucker factor, you know. And man, I'm just sitting there freaking out. And all of a sudden the stern came up, but then the boat yawed and it rolled over to my starboard side and buried the starboard side. And then now we're not sinking, we're listing, you know.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I could remember was my dad turn into the list, you know. So I just turned hard over to starboard, you know, and then we came clear. The boat bounced up. Well, then my heart stopped racing so bad, you know. But geez, I thought I was gonna die. I mean, it was one of those things where you just freak out.
How many guys do you have on board?
5.
5.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, it was exciting, but you know, it was one of those adrenaline rushes.
Yeah.
Where,
Is that where you had the Dutch door closed? The
yeah. Luckily, I had
the
the
half
back
door?
Yeah, we had the back door closed.
Yeah.
You know. So man, I tell you what, it was freaky, but it was fun too. You know?
Well, who dented the bow in on the?
Oh, that was my dad.
Your dad did?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, we went through that pass before that, and we're gonna go through there. You know, and then my dad said, "Yeah, always be careful when you go through this pass." You know, he goes, "It's dangerous, it's tricky." You know. So then the first time we just bought the boat, and we're running it up to Dutch Harbor. You know, and we got into the pass at the wrong time. Boy, my dad put a big old dent in the bow of the boat, and I always left it there. You know, just to remind me that you know I'm not going to do that.
Left it there on purpose?
Yeah.
What did he hit?
No, it was
just
a
a
wave.
wave.
Yeah.
Just a wave.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it just crumpled it up really
I've
good.
seen some wave walls just curl.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean you'd think that the steel would be strong enough, but
Yeah.
no.
So you got all these years up there,
Yeah.
right? Do you remember the scaredest you were ever?
That was
been?
it.
That was it.
That was it. Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean I've been on the beach twice.
Not walking with your toes in the sand, right?
Yeah. I wasn't driving when it happened, but I still got the shit scared out of me, you know, because, you know, I run up to the wheelhouse to find out what's going on, and you got this big cliff about 30 feet away from your bow, you know. And the skipper, he was this old-time Norwegian guy. His name is Otilius.
Oh yeah.
You know, and he's legend up there, you know, for cod fishing, because he could catch more cod than anybody, you know. And we actually have a tow called the Big O tow, because we call him the Big O, you know, and he was sitting in the wheelhouse there when we hit the beach the first time, you know, and I go, geez, what happened, you know? And I started pulling out the survival suits, you know, because I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I just see this big cliff, you know, and he goes, you don't need to pull them out, young feller, you know. And I go, what do you mean? You know, and I'm freaking out, right? And he goes, well, you know, you could jump to the beach from here without getting your feet wet. Oh man, I didn't even know what to think, man. I'm just kind of going, are you shitting me? You know, oh, excuse me, sorry.
Was that the Oceanic?
Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
Oceanic, yeah. And then 9 years later, almost to the day, you know, I hit the beach on the Storm Petrel in the exact same spot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I ran up into the wheelhouse, and I looked, and there's that flashing light there, and I go, you got to be kidding me. I'm right back in the same place, you know. And I mean, it couldn't have been more than 3-4 feet away, I'm thinking.
Was there anybody trying to put on a survival suit that time?
No, not that time. I think we got lucky there, you know, because I knew exactly what to do, you know, because we did it the last time.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Oh,
Right
I
at
know.
the base of that light, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was right there at
Turning the corner.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
collect the head. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
So I've had my share of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Oh yeah.
Well, with that many years up there, you know, you've seen and experienced stuff that a lot of guys today they don't experience it. You know, safety has changed so much that boats don't get in trouble as much as they used to. Navigation's changed. And,
Yeah.
and requirements and drills.
Oh yeah.
So looking now to then, what are some of the big changes that you think have impacted the industry?
Well, the survival stuff, you know. I mean, shoot, back then, when I first started fishing, you know, they had the life raft. They didn't even have these inflatable life rafts, you know. All they had was like a supersized life ring. You know, it was just that same plastic, that orange, you know, and you know, there's room for 3 guys in this little thing, you know. And, well, when I was 15 or 16, when I went up there that first time, you know, my mom made me get a survival suit, you know, just that, so I had one, you know, and they were brand new, you know. So then when I was sitting there with that survival suit, I was getting it ready, you know, and my his crew, you know, they're all old timers, you know, and they said, you're not going to need that, young fella, you know. And I go, well, you know, my mom says I got to take it, you know, and boy, talk about embarrassing, you know.
my mom says I got to take it.
I know.
Did she make you get make sure you get it on within 2 minutes?
Yeah, oh yeah. No, so I mean, she made sure of that, you know. No, so you know, then I was sitting there thinking, you know, I go, yeah, these old codgers, you know, I go, I bet you, you know, if anything happens, they're probably gonna be trying to take that survival suit from me, you know.
Right.
They can be men right now, but that ain't gonna last forever, you know.
Yeah.
That's something I remember on your boats. It seemed like you guys always had one old Norwegian guy in there.
Oh yeah.
All the time.
Oh yeah.
Didn't matter. Working on deck was amazing.
Yeah. Well, they did it too, you know. I mean, that's the thing, you know. I remember sitting there, you know, we're fishing crab, you know, and they're telling me to slow down. You know, they go, yeah, slow down, young fella. You know, they go, you're going to be old and crotchety like me here pretty soon, you know. And, you know, then you start looking at them, and some of them could barely walk, but they're out there running around. I mean, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah. Just keep going.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they just kept working. That's all they knew, you know. So, I mean, you know, like I said, I wish I could be like them. You know, because now I'm all stove up too, you know, just from too many years out on the water, you know.
You wouldn't change it though, would you?
No, hell no. No, I mean, it's you know, my life's the perfect life, you know, it's for me anyways, you know.
What has it given you?
Huh?
What has it given you?
Oh, a lot of, I mean, it's given me a lot of drive, you know, and a lot of pleasure, you know, just for doing good, you know. My dad was an old Norwegian guy. And Norwegians aren't very, they're not very, you know, he doesn't give you, you know, compliments very often. So when you get one, you got to take it, you know.
Right.
No, I remember one time he said he was proud of me, and gee, I about fell over.
Wow.
You know, I just about passed out, you know. I mean, but it was cool, you know. I mean, we always knew it was there, you know, but, you know.
Just
if
kind
he
of
ever,
unspoken word.
Oh, yeah, if he ever came up and told me he loved me and gave me a hug, I'd probably have a heart attack and die, you know.
That's a tough era, man.
That's how they were, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you just didn't ask for too much, you know.
A couple of our recent interviews actually have said the exact same thing. They were just raised different, you know.
Yeah.
Raised to not be prideful.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a lot of I love yous, but there was a whole lot of action showing that they loved you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, like I said, I mean, if he ever said that, I'd probably freak out.
So it was you and your brother and your dad mostly that
Yeah.
owned these boats and operated these boats? And
Yeah. Yeah, and then we actually had Northern Victor. It was a big factory processor, you know. They parked out in Beaver Inlet. They're out well, we were actually right where the Bountiful started, or the Billiken started crab processing back, you know, in those days, you know. Chuck was telling me about it. It was kind of funny because he goes, yeah, you're right there where Trident started.
Wow.
I go, you're kidding me. I knew they were out there somewhere, but I didn't realize they were right there in Botanic Bay, you know. So that was kind of cool, too.
So you've grown with the industry.
Oh, yeah.
So when you first started going up and fishing, you were doing some pollock and some crab.
Yeah.
How many pollock boats were in the fleet at that time?
Oh, geez. Well, at one time we had 7, you know, and then I think the whole fleet must have been, I don't know, 50, 60 of the catcher boats, you know, and then you had all the factory trawlers and all that other stuff. But
I remember the Storm Petrel with you and Jimmy. You guys just
Yeah.
spanked them
Oh yeah,
back and forth, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's when we started. Because
Yeah.
I remember, we were fishing for Alyeska then, and they had 5 boats at Alyeska, and Unicy had 5-6 boats, and Trident had 5-6 boats, and that was it when we started. When you and I, that was back in what 85 or something.
Yeah, late 80s, yep.
Yeah, because I think, yeah. Oh, it was nice back then.
I heard you hold some kind of record on that.
I think they do.
Yeah,
They're not supposed to brag about it, right?
yeah, right.
Right.
I think they did 100 trips that year.
The Norwegian way, yeah, you shouldn't
Oh, yeah.
brag about it, but
Yeah,
it's
I
so,
know.
yeah, I've heard,
Well,
I heard it was 100 trips.
Well, now since you guys brought it up,
That's right. That's okay.
oh yeah, we were humping it. We had a lot of guys aiming for us. But it was actually a good time. Like I said, you got to gloat a little bit when you get a chance. But
That's awesome.
yeah, but yeah. Jimmy and I had a good rotation going. I think we were doing about 6 weeks on and 6 weeks off. So
Splitting captain duties.
yeah, so you always had somebody fresh up there.
When you say Jimmy McManus?
Jimmy McManus, yeah. Yeah, so that was the fun times then. That's when fishing was fun.
Well, let's hear some of the fun.
Yeah. Let me think.
Well, there was no quotas, right?
Yeah, there was no quotas.
I mean, we fished 10 months a year.
Yeah, and there was no rookeries, and there's, and then the plants, you had plenty of time to deliver. You had plenty of time of this. And, you didn't have to wait in line for 6 days to deliver your fish. We were just in and out, and then I actually had this one guy, when Jimmy had to go down to Southeast because he was salmon fishing then. So I was going to stay on the boat, and fill in for his rotation, and he was going to pay me back later. Well, then a good buddy of mine, he called me, and he was going to get married, and he wanted me to be his best man, So I said, well, why don't we see if we can find somebody else? So we got this guy named Randy Ackerman.
I was so.
And Randy, he was a card. We called him the sheriff of the Bering Sea because if you did something, he'd be on you. Oh, he'd be on you like glue.
Mm-hmm.
So I got Randy to run the boat, and boy, the plant. They called me here one day and they said, "Hey, you got to get this guy off the boat." I go, "Why? He's catching too much fish." Because everybody run out about 3 hours or something like that. Well, he'd go right out in front of town, set the net, and fill the boat up, and then the rotation would get all screwed up, and I think he probably delivered damn near just as much as fish as we did,
Oh,
and we had a couple of good runs, I think he might have been part of that 100 trip season too, you know. But oh yeah, he was quite the guy,
How long did you and Jimmy split?
Yeah, we were there for 3 years, I think. And then Jimmy went to work for Trident, and then I just took over myself,
Did you have a Commodore before that?
Yeah, Jimmy went on the Commodore for
JVing or something?
JVing,
okay.
yeah. Because that's when we were JV fishing, or after we started JV fishing too, But that JV fishing was fun too, 'cause you didn't even have to go into town, But you get kind of lonesome for town.
Yeah. You miss those days?
Oh yeah, we were out there one time on the Storm Petrel for 94 days or 95 days without going to land,
So back then, how did you get your produce and how did you get your groceries? They just bring it out to you?
The Japanese ships, they'd send over a little bag with all kinds of weird vegetables. It was funnier than hell. We'd sit there, look at it, and wonder what it is. Is it a zucchini or, it was just, you didn't know what it was,
Right.
And then they'd send you a couple bottles of Japanese whiskey to make it feel better,
Right.
And we made sure we made use of that.
Yeah. You bet.
So that was good.
Yeah, you're on the days when alcohol restrictions weren't even there, right?
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so we'd have a little nip, or two, or
Yeah.
a few more than that maybe. But
Depending on how fishing was.
yeah, I know. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, when you talk about Randy, there's some characters that they're gone. Guys like Randy and Evan, and tell us about Evan. Evan blew out 3 wheelhouses?
Yeah. Yeah, he was the wheelhouse killer, Yeah, this one guy, well, he worked with me for a while, then he went with Trident. Then he took out windows on 3 different boats. Yeah, it was the Pacific Viking
Yep.
and the Viking Explorer,
It was one of your boats.
and then one of ours. Yeah, which
Taking
one?
waves.
Huh?
Taking waves.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, he didn't slow down for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Flying Cloud.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And the Flying Cloud's twice as high as most of them.
Yeah, I know.
And washed him clear down the stairs.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
I know. Well, I tell you what, if we ever take any windows out on storm petrol, you know, I think
Oh,
the whole
geez.
boat's going down. You know?
No.
But them windows are too high, you know. But man, I tell you.
So,
You
so that time going to the past, that was the closest you came to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You were puckered.
Oh yeah. Oh, like I said, I was glued to the seat, you know.
I'll tell you, the most tired I ever saw this guy was when his processor caught on fire. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
And you decided to go opie fishing.
Oh.
Well, let's hear this story.
It's a good one.
Well, yeah. Well, the processor caught on fire.
Which one?
The Northern Victor. So they couldn't process any pollock. So then we decided, well, let's go crab fishing. You know, that crab fishing, holy smokes. Opie fishing too, you know, where, you know, you got about 1 million crab to catch and sort and this and that. Well, I mean, it was 22-hour days, you know. And man, I tell you what, when I got back on the boat for pollock, I was a happy camper.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, you know, what they should do is have a law up there where anybody under 30 years old has to go crab fishing, and anybody over 30 has to stay on the pollock fishing, you know. Then that way you get kind of a balance, you know.
Right.
Yeah, then you don't have the old timers out there pushing crab pots, you know.
Most of the pollock fleet's getting pretty old.
It is, yeah.
Not just the boats, but the crew members on
Oh
board.
yeah. Well, the last year I was on the Storm Petrel, you know, I was 50. Yeah, I was 50 years old, and I was the youngest guy on the boat. You know?
Yeah.
My whole crew was older than I was, you know. Oh yeah. But I mean, you need the guys that know what they're doing, you know.
That's just it, isn't it?
Oh yeah. So then you try to get in a few young guys, you know, and you break them in a little bit and have them work with the old guys, you know. And then that works out a little bit better, you know. Yeah, because my dad always said, you know, he goes, you know, he always wants a crew with a strong back and a weak mind, so you can train them, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, when Jack and I were discussing during his podcast, he pretty much said the same thing. He said those young guys can really learn,
Oh yeah.
and the older ones take a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's always nice to have at least one old timer on board, you know, just so.
Just for the stories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Keep an eye on the
Yeah.
old guys.
Well, I had one of my mom's cousins on board one time, you know, and oh, he was Mr. Clean. You know, oh, he'd be yelling and screaming about everything, you know. And, I mean, I'd be in my skipper's stateroom, you know, and he'd come in there and he'd go, "Yeah, are you going to clean this place up?" Or, you know what? You know? And he'd start bitching at me for not cleaning my stateroom, you know. I'm going, "Are you kidding me?" You know. No, but he was always that way. And so we had this kid on board, you know, and we were making lunch one day, you know, we were fishing, and so he'd just put out a bunch of bread and mayonnaise and mustard, you know, and lunch meat and everything else, you know. So we had this greenhorn kid on board, you know, and he makes a sandwich, you know, and puts the mayonnaise and the mustard and the butter and the whole thing on there, and then he puts the sandwich meat on there, you know, and then he licks the knife on both sides, and he puts it back in the mayonnaise jar. And my uncle just about threw a fit, you know. He goes, "Jesus Christ!" He starts yelling at this kid, you know, about the knife. So then he throws the knife, you know, in the sink, and then he throws the bottle or the mayonnaise jar in the garbage, you know. And then the kid looks at him, and he doesn't know what's going on, you know. So then here, you know, he makes another sandwich. And then all of a sudden he grabs the knife and he puts it up to his mouth like he's going to lick it again. And Magnus standing there just staring at him, you know. And he goes, and he wipes it on his pants. Oh, I thought Magnus was going to blow up. I thought he was going to lose it, you know.
Now, Magnus is still fishing.
No, yeah, Christ, he must be 85 years old. Now he's back in Norway, yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking your brother was Magnus.
No, that's Norman.
Norman, he's
Yeah.
still fishing.
Yeah,
Norman's
oh, yeah.
still fishing. Okay.
Yeah, he's out there in ADEC right now, fishing cod pots. So.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
That sounds like fun.
On a 56-footer?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. Well, he's a good fisherman, you know. My brother, he always had the hot seat, you know. I mean, you know, if you had 10 ton, he'd have 20, you know.
Right.
And there's some guys like that, you know. There's, I don't know, maybe half a dozen of them that, you know, they can just drop the net on nothing, you know, and get a bag, you know, where the rest of us got to struggle a little bit, you know.
Got to work.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So you were back in Dutch Harbor in the prime days of like the elbow room.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You got any good stories from there?
Yeah. I actually got a 35-year-old son from there.
Just found out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
From the elbow room or from Dutch?
Well,
might have been a combination.
Yeah, a combination. Yeah. No, but it was a good deal. You know, I tell you what, we had a lot of fun there. Fights, and I actually got in a fight with a gal there one time. You know, she'd just come over to Alaska from the East Coast, and she had a little trawler. And she was going to come out to Alaska, you know, and catch fish, you know, and boy, she was a big woman, you know, big Nordic, you know. And man, I tell you what, we got in an argument about something. Boy, she just clocked me, you know. I mean, just knocked me right on my ass, you know.
She swung first?
Yeah, oh yeah. So then we were wrestling in the mud out in front of the elbow room, you know. I think it was one of my finer moments, you know.
Jeez, Lloyd.
Who won?
Huh?
Who won?
I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember.
No kidding. Oh my gosh.
How about you, Jack? You got any elbow room stories?
No,
you're not that guy.
I was so green, and like I said, an engineer from Akaten doesn't know anything in Dutch. I mean,
Right.
I don't know anybody, you know. I could talk to Lloyd for 2 years on the radio, but I don't know what he looks like, right?
Yeah.
So I went into the elbow room one time in my life, and for some reason I stepped behind the bar with my hat on, and I didn't know that was not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
This lady said, "Oh, you just bought everybody a drink." I said, "Why?" She goes, "You can't step behind the bar with your hat on." I thought she was pulling my leg. I said, "Okay, I better get out of here." She goes, "You better run." I was out of there, man.
Yeah.
So, no.
You still got guys looking after you for that beer.
I'll tell you what, it's
I
no, it was a different deal. Dutch Harbor was like the big city to the
Oh,
Akaten
yeah.
boys, you know.
So, Lloyd, you've seen it change over the years. When you
Oh,
first
yeah.
started going, it was gravel.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
gravel runway. It was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, then there was, you know, when I first got there was nobody even lived over on the other side. There was no bridge,
Right.
and nobody even lived on the Dutch Harbor side.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, there might have been a couple people living over there, but I mean, you know, Unalaska was the place.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little ferry
Yeah,
to get over to the elbow room.
yeah, they had a little, I don't know, 80 foot,
Yeah.
18 foot, 20 foot ferry, you know, and you know, you just bounce back and forth. And that's where I made a little bit of money too, because I had a skiff, you know, so all them old Norwegian guys, you know, they'd call me, you know, and then I'd drive them back and forth, you know, and so I made pocket money, whether they were working or not. You know,
Right.
so it worked
Jeez.
out pretty good for me.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
You know, one your brother brings up is our Christmas in Akaten.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was bad.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it sure was fun though.
Oh yeah, what I remember of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hear about Christmas in Akaten.
Yeah. Well, that's we were cod fishing at Christmas, and yeah, we're all sitting in town, you know. We're trying to decide the weather's going to be snotty, and so then we said, well, let's stay in Christmas, you know, and then we'll go out tomorrow when the weather's going to be better, you know. So we had a big party in town there, you know, and got all the skippers, you know, the whole cod fleet was in, you know. So we were having a great time, you know.
Only the guys that were
Yeah.
there at Christmas.
Yeah,
That was the fleet.
Yeah. Well, we had one guy, you know, we actually kind of messed him up a little bit. Well, this one guy, he was running to Half Moon Bay, you know, he decided he wasn't going to party that night, you know, and he was going to be the first one out fishing the next morning. So, you know, we waited till about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we snuck into his stateroom and turned off his alarm clock. And then we kept partying, you know. So then here the next morning, we all took off and left, and we left him at the dock. So then he didn't get out there till like 3 or 4 hours later, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, I
That
know.
was the first mate's day that day.
Yeah,
though.
Mate's Day. Yeah, that's right.
None of the skippers got up when it was time to tow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
first
yeah.
mate's day.
Yeah. So we gave them a chance, you know.
Right.
Yeah, like, let them break your teeth in a little bit.
Oh yeah, and especially when they're hung over. Oh. Well, that's the thing too, cod fishing. You know, I remember, gosh, when I was working on deck, you know, you didn't want to go into town very often because, you know, here you are, you know, having a full hangover, and you got to go out and bleed cod, you know, and you got blood squirting up in your face, and you know, there's blood all over the place, you know, and oh boy, I tell you what, I don't know how many times you'd get sick, you know. But we endured it just so we could go out tomorrow night and go to town again.
You bet. You bet.
Yeah.
I remember one time we left here 6 or 7 boats. I think we were in the back to go up the inside passage, and your dad was leading.
Oh yeah.
And we're gonna go up and get you up in Ketchikan.
Yeah, right.
You were gonna fly in.
Yeah.
I came to find out 2 days later that your dad hadn't looked at a chart the whole way.
Yeah.
He didn't need to.
Yeah, I know.
The whole fleet was following him.
He had just done it for so long?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, he'd make Lloyd do it with
Yeah.
looking at just the lights and all that stuff, right?
So,
That's when he'd quiz us, you know. So then we had to sit there, and he wouldn't let us look at the charts. He wouldn't let us do this or that. You know, you go, okay, follow the lights, you know. Then we couldn't use the radar. He'd turn the radar off on you just to mess with you, you know. So then you're trying to figure out, okay, you know, where was that rock at now? You know,
probably helped you later on.
Oh yeah. Oh, it did, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that navigating was fun. You know, I mean, once you got into it, you know, and I kind of kick myself sometimes too, because, you know, I was in my daughter's class one time, you know, for that what your father does thing, and I told her class, I said, you know, I flunked trigonometry and geometry and all the math classes, you know, for that. You know, and I said, you know, I wish I would have learned, because that's exactly what you needed for charting on the charts, you know. So then them kids, I think they figured it out, but they all want to know who Captain Sig was.
Oh, of course.
They didn't care about anything else, you know. Just,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Living in the shadow.
Oh, I know.
That's too funny.
Of a younger man,
Yeah.
too.
Oh, I
right.
know.
Right?
Well, I told her in class, I said I used to beat them up all the time when we were kids. Because I did. No.
Was your dad from the same island, Carmine?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Sig's mom and my dad, they went to school together, and his dad, you know, lived, I don't know, half a mile away or something, you know. Wow. So I mean,
it seems like every Norwegian I know, which is a lot here in Ballard especially, is from that island.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I bet you. Well, I think they said there's like 10,000 Norwegians living here in Seattle. You know, and I mean,
There must be 9,900 of them here in Ballard. Then.
Yeah, right. Yeah, oh yeah. You know.
Well, didn't you tell me there was a bunch of different kings there or something? Is that on that island? Somebody told me there was different kings on this island. They're all fighting.
There used to be.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's actually on that Viking show. I don't know if you ever watch it, but that Harold the Fair-Haired, they call him. You know, on that show, he was actually the Viking king. And he killed like 32 other kings, you know, to become king of the Vikings, you know.
Actually, Tor, when he was on here, said the same thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like a king crabber to me.
Yeah, right.
Running down the guy's gear, man.
Oh, I know.
Do you remember the first time you went to Alaska and how you felt? I mean, the scenery,
Yeah, the first time I actually went up there, you know, we just went on a trip from Seattle to Ketchikan with my dad. My mom was there too, and my brother, you know, and it was, 2 days, I think, or something. But, boy, we just had a great time.
inside passage.
Oh, yeah. But then the best part was when we got to Ketchikan, because then they still had that seaplane, the Albatross. And we got to fly from Ketchikan to Seattle in that Albatross. And, man,
That's the sister to the Goose, right?
that's a bigger
Big.
one.
The bigger one, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and that was the coolest thing for us. You know, we were 2 little kids. I was only 10 years old or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, the whole trip was fun. And, you know, we got to go out and play in the crab pots. That was like a super huge jungle gym, you know.
That's good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So how long have you been out of the captain's seat now?
Well, about 3 years.
You miss it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I still want to go up there every now and again, but my health, you know. That's what's really killing me now is, you know, them old timers that were telling me to slow down, young fella. You know, I should have listened to them, because now, jeez, I can barely walk half the time.
That's too much.
Yeah.
Well, you first sang too, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I sang for 4 years, 5 years.
Where at?
In Sandpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was back in the early '80s. That was back when it was hot fishing too. We were making lots of money.
I remember you were on the Oceanic. You were first sailing. You were just kind of all over the map, man.
Well, yeah, I got that Norwegian thing going.
Right.
I got to try to make as much money as I can. You know,
Right.
you know, I got to live the good life.
Can't stop fishing.
I know. Well, I mean, it was always the means to an end, anyways. You know, because I mean, I'll never forget when we moved to Seattle. You know, we lived in a neighborhood just up in Richmond Beach. You know, and we weren't making that much money, but then all of a sudden, that was the early '70s when the king crab fishing really started popping, you know, and then all of a sudden my dad was making pretty good money, you know. Well, then all the neighbors, you know, they're going, oh, geez, we got fishermen living next door, you know. All of a sudden he shows up with a new Cadillac or something, you know, and then they all start, oh, maybe that fishing ain't so bad.
Yeah. I remember your dad telling me he was buying a boat a year, him and Corey.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Unbelievable. Paying a boat off in a year.
Yeah.
Buying another one.
Well, yeah, the Royal Atlantic, I think they paid it off that first year, that first season. You know, and, you know, and back then the boats, I think they paid $800,000 for that boat. You know, total.
Paid it off in one season.
Yeah. You know, and now, I mean, shoot, you go to the shipyard, you know, and it's $800,000. You know, just to get your bottom polished. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's expensive for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Totally different deal.
Yeah.
What do you? What kind of advice do you got for young guys trying to think about going up there?
Go up there and kick some ass. You know, I mean, you know, there's always the opportunities. You know, you just have to take them. And I think I was lucky because, you know, yeah, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Because I mean, I was in a pretty good spot to get a job running a boat, but then I couldn't just slough off, you know, and not do anything, you know. So I had to work my ass off too, because sometimes a skipper makes his kids work harder than the other guys. You know?
Sure.
And I know I got some of that. I mean, that first year I was fishing, I was in the bait box, you know, and the guys, they lost a pot on the block, and he comes out and he starts yelling at me. And I'm going, I wasn't even there, you know. And he goes, well, you got to keep an eye on these guys. That pot's going to be yours someday, you know. And I'm just going, you got to be kidding me. Hey.
And we got,
I paid attention after that, you know.
and we got Jack here, who's been dragging his kid up there since he was 6 months old.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Right.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
It's kind of passing on the legacy.
He was willing, that's for sure. He's like Lloyd,
Yeah.
you know. Lloyd was willing.
Yeah.
Even now, you got to drag him back from Alaska. He said.
About it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, you know. I mean, it's a really good life, you know. I don't even consider fishing a job. I consider it a lifestyle, you know. And you know, and you can kind of intertwine that with your personal life and this and that and what have you, you know. But you got to be careful too. But I mean, you know, it is a family business. I mean, with the crab boats and the trawlers and stuff, it's a little bit different. But I mean, if you go up to Alaska, you look at any boat, any salmon boat, you know, gill netter, seiner, whatever. I mean, you'll see, and it's mostly families, you know.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could do that too, but you know, there's way more restrictions and shit like that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you got observers you have to have, and you know, different things, you know, that kind of makes it difficult for anything, you know.
Right.
You know, there's still a really big slice of freedom, though.
Yeah.
Like
oh,
when
yeah.
you come out, when I would come out the bay, I thought I could go any direction. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to tell me what to do, you know.
Oh yeah.
Or I'll find some fish. I call Lloyd. He's going, what are you doing over there? I said, come on over here, man. Check it out. He comes in, fills up before I even get done, you know.
Yeah.
And he's laughing at me like, what are you taking so long for? And it's so much fun. It's just like, yeah, that was great, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
We discovered so many spots because we were learning, you know, just the grounds and the currents and everything else. It was fond memories, man.
Oh yeah.
Great memories.
Well, I mean, we didn't want to be sheep either, you know, and just follow the other sheep over the fence, you know. I mean, we go try different places. Everybody's going, "What are you guys doing over
Yeah.
there?" You know. I mean, I bet you there's probably half a dozen spots, at least, you know, where no, you know, everybody drive by and they wouldn't even stop, you know, and well, we got this one spot called the Butt Cheeks, you know, right outside of Acatan, you know, and it's just two rookeries, you know, and it looks like somebody's ass. You know?
Right.
So then Yeah, we'd be fishing right in between them things, you know. That's where Jack was talking about.
Yeah.
You know, and I
Or
mean,
go down into the pass and turn your lights off.
oh yeah. Then, you know, I mean, you'd have 30, 40 boats driving by you. They don't even stop and look, you know. We would have stopped and looked.
Oh, baby. Yep.
But then we went to, we went to all kinds of places. I remember one time, you know, the Northern Victor was down in Avitanic Bay. And there's a little pass that goes there down to the Gulf of Alaska, you know.
Where's Avitanic Bay?
That's where
South
Trident
side.
started. It's just south of Dutch Harbor on the same island. So, you know, it was the Alaskan Pride, you know. It was kind of funny because we had a guy running the boat that just wasn't doing his job. So my dad and my partner, they told me to take the boat out and go see what's going on with that thing, because you know everybody's catching millions of tons, and and he's got like 40,000, So you know, I went on the boat and I said, well, let's go out. You know, we just dropped down to the south side. You know, we'll set the nets out and take a look at them and see what's going on. You know, so I went out there and I set the net out, and all of a sudden I saw a lot of sign on the bottom. You know, so I said, well, you better go. You know, once we get this net squared away, you know, we'll set the net and try it and see if it's working, you know. So then here, you know, we set one net out and we got that all squared away, and then we saw that there was two bridles, you know, on each side, you know, and one of them was 40 fathoms long and the other one was 45 fathoms long. But then instead of having both the long ones on the top or both the long ones on the bottom, they had one on each corner, you know. So I said, well, that's going to be easy to fix the other net now. Because, you know,
some folks aren't going to know what you mean by that. Tell us what's happening when one of them's
oh yeah, well, on the net's like a big funnel, you know, and the funnel comes up, and we have these two big, huge doors, we call them. They're like two big airplane wings that we hang off the boat, and they spread the net out, and then the net's like a big funnel, and the bridles are they're cables that are attached from the door to the net. So you have to have all four of them even, you know, all four of them the same. Mm-hmm. Well, we had two nets with all four different, you know, different lengths on them.
Really close them out.
Yeah. So then, you know, one net would hang open this way, you know, and they'd be all cockeyed, you know, so the fish wouldn't go in. Mm-hmm. So so we got both the nets fixed, and I went out and set the net, and I towed for about 10 minutes. And I got a full bag. I got 100 ton in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, this net's working, you know. So then I go, let's set the other net out, and then we'll get that one squared away, you know, and then we'll do that. So then I loaded the boat up there in about 3-4 hours. So then I called Jimmy McManus, you know, he was on the Commodore then, and I called him and I said, hey, he was on the Store Patrol. I go, hey, you know, we're going to go on strike. I go, tell everybody to come into the ship, you know, and we're going to sit down here and have a negotiation, you know, about the price of the fish. So he goes, what? You know, and I'm going, yeah, just get in here. Just get in here, you know. I go, tell everybody to get in here now. So then I got all 7 boats to come back into Beaver Inlet, you know, so nobody would see us. So I said, okay, come on, let's go out to the south side. Man, there's fish up the butt out there, you know. So we all went out there, and Jimmy, he got 4 million pounds in about 2 weeks, you know, which is totally
So this is a big ruse. You're just
Secret
calling everybody.
spot.
Oh, we're going to talk about this.
Yeah, I didn't want anybody to find out about us, you
yeah.
know. So then we were all gone for about a week and a half.
Yeah, where's the Victor guys?
Yeah, then everybody started going, where's the Victor guys, you know. So Randy Ackerman, he hired a plane.
The sheriff.
Yeah, the sheriff, you know.
Yep.
He hired
The guy who was going right out front, dumping his net, coming
Yeah.
right back into
yeah,
town.
yeah, right. So he hired a plane to fly out there to find out what we're up to, you know. So then here he came flying through there. Then there's 2 boats laying alongside the ship, you know, and with full loads on board. And all of a sudden he sees one of the boats coming in through that channel to the south. You know, and then he kind of figured it out. Oh, they're out there. So next thing you know, there was 30, 40 boats out there.
Yeah.
You know, I
He
mean,
got found out.
Oh yeah. So he rat us out. You know, but I mean, we actually had a pretty good go there for a while.
Almost every one of these that I've done so far, which is we're pushing a dozen at this point.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the same names. Everybody's got the. I mean, it's a family out there.
Oh yeah. Oh
I mean,
yeah.
everybody's got a memory of somebody else, and they just keep crossing. This is this big interweb. Like Lloyd, today's the first day you and I have met.
Yeah.
But the majority of names that you've mentioned are friends of mine.
Yeah, well,
people that I know.
Oh, yeah.
It's just such a small community, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I tell you what, you could have your worst enemy, somebody that you hate. But if their boat's sinking and you're the closest boat, you're going to be there. I mean, just without...
Just the way it goes.
Yeah, just without even thinking about it, Because, I mean, we are brothers, And I think that's the important thing, too, And like in pollock fishing, we fish in a fleet, where, you'll always have boats around you. Where crab fishing, sometimes you might not, You might have somebody too far away, but then they still talk to each other, And you just want to make sure everybody's covered,
Yeah.
Because, I mean, these boats going down they're tragic,
Yeah. We've had a pretty bad rash of that here lately,
Oh, I know.
A couple of them, and it's been years, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Well, like I was telling you about the safety earlier, I mean, geez, I bet you there was 30, 40 boats going down a year, back in the early 70s or late 60s anyways.
Wouldn't that be something to have that many where it's almost commonplace to hear it on the radio with
Yeah.
someone in distress?
Yeah, I know. No, it'd be horrible,
Yeah.
No, well, I always said, I mean, here I am, going to spend 40 years of my life in the Bering Sea, and I'm probably going to drown in a bathtub at the Hilton Hotel or something.
Well, the guy you're talking about, Randy.
Yeah.
I mean, he went through horrible stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened? He got a car wreck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was trying to get a tilapia farm going,
Right.
down in California or something.
Mm-hmm.
Lloyd and I could probably do a whole hour just on Randy stories. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
a character this guy was.
Oh, yeah.
He was beyond funny, and he worked for Trident, of course. So
Well, they'd shovel him off to us every now and again.
Yeah,
when
right.
He got
right.
out of hand.
He was a guy that you just could never miss, and you always knew what he was thinking because he was telling you right to your face,
Right.
Mark. I think you look like crap. That's how he was.
Then the fact that he was about 6'4", 6'5", tattoos all over his body,
Yeah.
a big handlebar mustache.
That couldn't be intimidating at all.
No.
Oh, he was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
You either loved him or hated him. I tell you, I love the guy. He was just so funny. Man, oh man.
Yeah, we're about out of time here, but Lloyd, I really appreciate you coming and talking to us today. And
Yeah, no, I appreciate it too. It's actually kind of fun to start hashing old
You
memories
got-
back.
do you got any last minute story you want to throw in there
Oh,
before I ask Jack to encourage you to pick one out?
yeah.
Oh, I got lots of Lloyd stories.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I think I used them all up. Now, all the good ones, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come out and sit with us today, and maybe you stew on this for a few weeks and come back and decide you got some more to talk about or something.
yeah, okay, yeah, I might have a few more stories. I might have some good stories.
Oh yeah.
Give it some thought.
Yeah.
And yeah, we didn't prep you at all.
No,
There was
no.
you
No,
had
this
no
was
idea.
cold turkey, man.
You had no
Oh, yeah.
idea what you're going to talk about.
That's right.
That's the whole idea of this program is
Yeah,
you and I didn't even speak before you came in here and were sitting 5 minutes probably
yeah,
before we started this, right?
yeah.
And that's the whole idea of it. I don't want anything fake. I want it real.
Oh yeah. Well, you got as much real as I can. Then you don't have to worry about Brett and me talking, because I'm real good at it.
Jack, anything you want to add before we close this out?
No, I just thinking of his Portuguese. We got so many stories,
Yeah.
but I do want to say. I think I said on my last broadcast when I came out as a skipper, Jimmy McManus was the only outside boat I knew, Storm Petrel, because I was just a young boy from Akitan. I didn't know anybody, and sure enough, he said, "Yeah, I'm rotating out. Lloyd's coming to take the boat," and I freaked out, going, "Well, who the hell's Lloyd, man? What am I gonna do?" And then Lloyd came right alongside me, and he just couldn't have been a better friend. Helped me out, walked me through everything. I mean, it was awesome. It was nothing, never a word for anything in return, just to helping out a guy. So anyway, I got fond memories of working with this guy all these years.
Yeah. No, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I first contacted you, Jack, and asked you to come on board and do the show with me, you said there's a guy you gotta get.
Oh yeah.
You gotta get Lloyd.
You got it.
And here we sit.
Yeah.
And here we sit.
Because from Lloyd, he's gonna know 50 other guys.
Well, I'm gonna fish
know?
for those later.
Yeah.
We're all fishermen of sorts, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Good
So,
deal.
all right. So, Lloyd, again, thanks a lot for coming
Oh
by
yeah.
today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. This has been another installment of Gale Stories, Stories of the Bering Sea and Beyond. And I am and will remain your host, Mark Kaler. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Right